Let's bring in
Thanks for
James
having me.
Judge. He's a former Coast Guard spokesman, and he served under General David Petraeus in Afghanistan. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, do you think federal authorities, including the FBI and the military, maybe at the White House, I mean, they're baffled by these drones and where they're coming from, or are they just not being forthright with us at this time?
I'm not sure. I think based on my experience with the Department of Defense and with the Department of Homeland Security, our policies at the time were the public has a right to know what's going on and what their tax dollars are being spent on. And I think it's concerning and alarming that you have unidentified aircraft, unmanned aerial systems that are flying over Coast Guard bases, that are flying over Army bases. These are unlawful aircraft in sensitive areas. And it seems that the government is saying, oh, they're not posing a threat. And also, let's remember, this isn't the first time the Biden administration has allowed something like this to happen. We had the spy balloons that were, allowed to parade around the United States. I think all of this should be very concerning to Americans. I just heard yesterday in congressional testimony, the FBI's budget is $11 billion a year, and they only spend about $500,000 on counter-drone ops. Meanwhile, at the southern border, we have had 45,000 UAS incursions or incidents on the southern border over the last year. They've managed to mitigate 60 of this, 60, that's right. It's wild that there's not a bigger emphasis on this emerging threat. We need collaboration between the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, to really come up with actionable solutions to determine how to deal with this ever-pacing threat that is emerging these days.
So the Coast Guard, of which you were a member, they confirmed that about a dozen low-altitude aircraft, that's what they say, trailed one of their vessels in the waters off of the New Jersey shore. So what kind of surveillance or video or satellite equipment do they have on a Coast Guard boat? Wouldn't they be able to track these drones? I mean, you look at them, and then where do they go? I mean, are they just disappear?
Right. Well, and that would be something I would encourage your station to reach out to the Coast Guard and put in a Freedom of Information Act request. Ask for the footage. There should be forward-looking infrared FLIR video. There should be photos, or if you have 12 aircraft that are following your Coast Guard cutter or a Coast Guard small boat, I would imagine that every one of those crew members has a phone on board. Somebody has some photos, and those photos should be released. The public has a right to know, and we need to know what these are. It's unacceptable that military vessels. The Coast Guard is one of the 6 armed services. A military vessel is followed by 12 unknown aircraft, and we don't have answers. Every American should be upset with that and demanding answers from their congressmen, their senators. I think that, luckily, we only have about 30 more days of this before President Trump comes back into office. And I think under his administration, you're going to see a concerted effort to deal with things like this. You're also going to see around the world, bad actors and those adversaries that we have are going to realize that dad's back, right? There's going to be consequences for unacceptable behavior like this. And I don't think you would see this happening under President Trump.
No, he already said, shoot one down. Let's find out what the hell it is. And we had these drones over Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany and other locations. So, I mean, look, maybe these are just kids. I doubt it, in some club. That would be pretty far-fetched because there's so many of them. James Judge, I appreciate you coming on, and enjoy the Army-Navy game. Not sure who you're rooting for in this one, but we'll see.